Hi, I'm Congressman Randy Neugebauer, and welcome to the Empowerment Project. Some people ask, what is the Empowerment Project? Well, what we have set out to do is try to articulate things that are hindering our country and causing our country to move in a direction that many of us don't think we should. I believe that we need to move in a direction that empowers people and not entitles people. And unfortunately, over the last few years, more and more people have gotten into the wagon, and we have actually fewer and fewer people pulling the wagon. And many of us believe this is a trend that cannot continue in our country. And so over the next few weeks and months, we're going to be talking about things that empower the American people and some of the things that are causing people to be more dependent on our government. With me today is Bill Beach, and Bill is the director for the Center of Data Analysis at the Heritage Foundation. And Bill and his organization, Heritage, has done a lot of work on developing an index of how dependent the American people have become on our government. Bill, it's great to have you with us today.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and on your inaugural broadcast. This is terrific.
Well, thank you. You bet. And we're glad to have you, and we appreciate all of the things that Heritage does to articulate this empowerment philosophy versus an entitlement philosophy.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
You've done an analysis. Y'all keep an index now, and you've just come out with some findings, and pretty alarming. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
For 8 years in a row, Congressman, we have done an index called the Index of Dependence on Government, and it measures the amount of government program that's out there that provides help to people in need, where that help was in the old days provided by our neighbors, our churches, local governments, and so forth. We're all going to be dependent one day on somebody. As a child, I'm told by my mother that I was totally dependent on her. So dependency is not something that's unnatural. It's part of life, but it's who you're dependent on. We're worried about the growth of dependence on government, because when people get dependent on government, they don't really have anybody, their neighbor or somebody, saying, well, hey, let me help you get back on your feet. There may be an incentive, in fact, for government to keep them dependent. And people in your position, voting budgets, have a tough time cutting those programs for housing, health, food aid, and so forth. And we look all over the world. We see government after government in trouble financially with huge debt produced by these dependency-creating programs. So we're worried for two reasons. Big public finance problem, tough on you to cut those programs. And then it undermines the community, undermines families. When we don't look after each other, we weaken the communities. When we do look after each other, we strengthen America.
Absolutely, and and the numbers are increasing at an alarming rate. You kind of give the viewers a little bit of where we started and where we are now, and almost a 16-fold increase.
It's huge. Well, the index starts in 1962. That's the earliest data that we have for all the programs that we're following. We follow about 50 programs inside the index, federal programs. In 1962, the index value was 19. Today, it's over 240. We've had a 50% increase in the index just since 2001. So this isn't a Democrat problem or a Republican problem. It's a Democrat and Republican problem. While you all haven't seen the latest numbers, which will be produced very shortly here by the Heritage Foundation, I can tell you now that in 2009, we're going to announce that there was a 13.6% increase in that year alone in the index of dependence on government. So we're growing at an increasingly rapid rate. By the way, so is our public debt, and there's a connection between these two. They're both rising rapidly, and so people who say, well, I'm not dependent now, I'm not going to be bothered by this, they're probably taxpayers, and they're already affected by this problem.
Those are some of the people that are pulling the wagon. Bill,
Exactly.
Thank you so much for being on the program. What we do understand is that this entitlement movement in this country, the dependency on government, is not sustainable. And as we saw just this week, we went over the $13 trillion mark in the deficit, in its total debt, in this country, and we're headed to record deficits over $1 trillion a year. And so obviously, if we don't do some things about making sure that we're doing policy in this country that empowers people instead of encourages them to become a part of the entitlement, then in the years to come we will be taking away from the future of our children and grandchildren. Bill, thank you so much for being on the program, and we appreciate you coming, and we look forward for you coming back and sharing your new numbers with us in the near future.
Thank you very much.
This is Congressman Randy Neugebauer. This is the Empowerment Project. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can go to my website at randy.house.gov.